So you're thinking of building your own fence or buying a fence. You're not sure if you're going to go with vinyl or not. Vinyl is a great way to go, and hopefully this helps you make that decision or help you in trying to do it yourself and save some money. No, I'm not paid by the vinyl fence company. That would be nice, but hopefully this helps you. Just wanted to get a quick before and after picture of the fence. As you can see, the fence has seen better days, and our neighbors just put new, well, it's blocked actually, but there's a new stair set, so I thought, well, it's time to put the rest of the vinyl fencing in. So vinyl fencing, yeah, it's different. And I just extended all that last 30 feet or so, and then I had to extend onto this. So as you can see, it takes a little bit of digging. So this stuff is a little different to work with. It is definitely different. Here's the old fence that we had for the last year or so. Nice, huh? Fence is pretty boring to me, but just, I don't know, it's one of these things you gotta do. So anyway, you should be able to get a pretty good before and after this, because right now it looks pretty gosh darn awful. One of the most unfun tools in the world is the post hole digger. Anybody agree? But it does work. So as you can see, once you get it going, once you get it started, it goes pretty fast. It's pretty easily. You can go ahead and put all your panels in before you even level this thing. You still can play with the post and move it up and down. It's really hard without wearing the camera. We can still move the post up and down, even though you see everything's just freestanding right now. So then we can get everything in position. Brain's not working today. Once we get the post all level and plumb, then we can pour the concrete. That's it. On this bottom piece, let's see if I can pull it out here. Yeah, I can't, but there's aluminum right there if you can see that. And that keeps the bottom, and it just slides. Can't pull it out now, but anyway, it keeps the bottom, the base stiff. The top pieces don't have that. They don't need it. They're not really supporting any weight. Okay, so as you can see, it just pops right in there. Easy peasy. And we'll go up to the top. Same thing here. Just like that. That's it. Okay. Piece of cake, and I'm just going to put it right up to this wall, which is perfect. And it'll be solid once the concrete goes in. Dig. So much easier than the rest of this whole thing went. Whew. It'll be really nice when it's done. Okay, so I made one critical mistake here. You may have already noticed. This piece right here, this piece, I forgot to put it in here. Okay, that's kind of like over here. And the reason they do that is so you can slide that, and if you have a little bit of a crack, like my aunt's, that you can still cover this up. So I'm going to show you, I can still get this thing in here. It's not easy, but you can still shove it in by bending it. Unfortunately, I'm one-handed here, but you can do it. Didn't say it was easy. So it's easier to start out with it already there. Just a tip. But it can be done, and I'm sure I'm not the first person who's done this. In fact, I'm positive. Ouch. There we go. There we go. See? Now, if we go back to the other end, you can still kind of slide this just by pounding it, really. And you can see we closed up our gap, and I'll close it up better later. But anyway, so on the other end, we'll put this in first. So much easier. So as you can see, our fence here is a little off. And so we can kind of look and see if we lift the level up. We need to be about right there. So it only needs to come up about that much. So what we'll do is we'll just lift the post up and put a little dirt, which is okay. And we only need to lift it. So I can go like this. Look, I can lift this whole thing up. Okay, I probably leveled it out. Not enough. We need to go up. Actually, we need to go up about an inch. About an inch. So I'll kind of knock about an inch worth of dirt down in the hole, and we're good. Okay. So this is what I want to see. I want to see that right there. And I want to see it this way as well. That's how it should be, right on the money. So I think we're ready to throw some dirt in this hole, and it's deep enough. I'm not going to get so formal about it, but I think it's supposed to be 12 inches exactly all the way around. Hey, it's plastic fence, just do what you think you need. Up against this wall, it's going to be just dial. Okay. Okay, so it's a little soupy, I know. Always mix one bag at a time, so much easier. Don't ever do 2 bags. It's much too hard. One bag at a time, remember, one bag at a time. Okay, luckily this stuff is really easy to cut. You can actually cut it with a hacksaw. It's really easy. I find that this works much better. So I don't really need all this going down on the ground. I just don't need that much. I'm going to do about right here. I'll cut it here. I'll have all this with concrete. So. And then the concrete can flow in here underneath and go up inside. Make sense? Okay, here we go. Now those of you who have never worked with concrete before, it's really not that hard. I mean, you go and you buy a bag of it, and the stuff is cheap. It's like $3 a bag for the post concrete, and you just mix it up, wheelbarrow, pour it in. Of course, you don't have to use concrete. You can put these things just in the ground. I wouldn't. I would want to do concrete, but it's up to you. I would suggest it. Now, I was doing this one post at a time. I would have one poured and dried, and then I would put my next section in, and then I would go ahead and pour the next one, let it dry, and come back in the morning. Now, you could pour all your post in advance, but I just didn't do that. I had plenty of time, so I just poured one at a time. Okay, now here's where the fence companies get you. It's the gate. They wanted $540 at Home Depot for a gate, and I said, you're crazy. So I decided I would just build one out of fence material, that I actually had some extra fence material left over, so I built a gate. And you can see how it's pretty simple. It's just top on the bottom, a lot of screws. Now I'm going to tell you one thing, you're going to need a lot of screws for this job. You want to get screws that are not going to rust, and they make them for outdoor. The gate is going to be more work than anything else. Whenever you're doing a gate, it gets very involved. It has to be level, everything has to be perfectly vertical, plumb. Your posts have to be right on the money. The gate has to be level. The latch mechanisms have to line up. So expect to take a lot of time. That is one ugly, yikes. But it looks great on my side. I thought it came out okay, not bad. Now I decided to go ahead and put in a Picket gate because we wanted something to keep the dog inside. And so I had some other material that I had purchased called WamBam fence. It was Picket fence. And we'll get into that right now. This front was pretty ugly. It was it was awful. An old fence. So I bought some WamBam fence. Now this stuff is pretty good. I was impressed with it. It's a pretty good price. I decided to go ahead and just concrete in my posts for the gate, and I went ahead and I poured my posts the night before. I decided not to use concrete against the house. I'm just going to screw it onto the house. It's going to be plenty solid. What I really liked about it was the fact that the posts, one post was included with each panel. Now this is the problem you're going to run into with a lot of the vinyl fence companies, is they're going to overcharge you for the posts. So that's what you're going to have to figure in as the price of your post. The WamBam fence comes with one post in the box with the panel, which was really nice. It really saved a lot of money. Unless you can find something that's 2 3/8, a regular 2x4 is not going to fit to put in your bottom section to hold up the weight. It's pretty rigid. I don't think you're going to have much trouble with that. I don't really see any need to put anything in the bottom. Okay, so getting back to gates. So now on the front gate, I managed to salvage the old hinges, and I decided again, why spend money on an expensive gate that they overcharge for when I can just build one out of fence material? It's not as pretty, but it does serve the purpose, and it's utilitarian, and it's not as pretty as their gate, obviously, but it does work, and it's much less expensive to do it this way. As always, whenever you're cutting your materials, measure twice, measure 3 times, cut once. Measure twice, cut once. Very important with this stuff, because once you cut it, it doesn't stretch out very well. So putting these pieces in, the rest of it goes pretty smooth. I would recommend pre-drilling things. You don't have to. You can run a screw straight into this stuff. It's more difficult. It's much easier if you can pre-drill it. That's what I always do. Make sure you look at your holes
it's very easy to get the holes in the wrong spot. So pre-plan out the fence holes where the pickets actually go into the bottom and top beam. The holes have to line up. Match up your beams before you cut them. Match up the holes before you cut length. Super important. Of course, we want to get everything nice and level. Measure twice, drill once. Measure twice, drill once. All of this. Make sure that you're measuring correctly. Double check your measurements. And you can put this fencing on a pretty steep slope. I don't know how many degrees, but there is a lot of give, and they give you, if you notice the holes, they're elongated on the bottom hole of the top beam. As far as the blade goes, you want to use a very, I would say a medium blade. I tried using a pretty rough, a pretty widely spaced blade, and it tended to chip the material. The fine blade tended to make this dust, this plastic dust. I would wear a mask. As you can see, it's all over my arms. So maybe a medium one, so at least you don't get a fine dust. It's more of a something you can brush off. I don't know. Ouch. The posts you can use as an end post, inline post. You can use it for anything because it uses a completely different system. When you cut, you just have to mark everything all the way around. Yes, you can use a handsaw to cut this stuff. It's going to be pretty time consuming to use a handsaw, but just a very low powered battery saw, that's what I'm using, will cut through this stuff easily. Now, having another person there to hold it is great. Now, I was able to just put it in and just tap it down a little bit and level it out. And put a temporary screw in to hold it in place. You'll notice on my gate, I decided to go with a scalloped look, and you can do that with the whole fence if you want by cutting the pickets at different lengths. And you can go with a scalloped look, either a low bottom section or a high top section, kind of a curving effect. So it's a really easy option with this by just cutting different lengths of the pickets. One thing about vinyl fencing that is really appealing to me is the fact that it lasts virtually forever. There's no painting, there's no rot, there's no termites. The stuff lasts forever. From what I've seen so far, my other fencing is at least 20 years old. Starting to look a little, starting to chalk a little bit, but overall it's in great shape. It's in better shape than a wooden fence would be, in my opinion. I just think the money that you spend, the extra money that you spend is worth it, because you don't have to ever paint this stuff. It looks great forever. It never rots. It never warps. It never gets eaten by termites. It's just, I really like it. You do have to use screws. You cannot use nails in this. That's maybe one, if that's look at that as a drawback. You cannot use a staple gun, as far as I know. Maybe you could use a staple gun, but I don't think so. Maybe, I'm not sure. I'm no expert. They have some really nice screws that they provide you with that match the color of the fence, but they don't really give you enough of them to do something like a gate. So once you get your beams set and level, double check everything, then the rest is pretty easy. The pickets actually just drop right in. They do provide you with glue for the tops of the pickets. So I guess the question now is, what do you want to do? Do you want to use vinyl or wood or some other material? I've done a lot of fencing over the years, put quite a few fences up, mainly wood, and some of the disadvantages are looking at that fence 10 years later and it just doesn't look very good. It needs paint again. The termites have gotten to it, the weather's gotten to it. The nails are getting loose. There's some advantages and disadvantages to both of them, so it's really up to you what you want to do. Me personally, I think I'm going to go with the vinyl from now on. And despite its higher cost, initially, I think it saves you money in the long run. I really do. When you just look at all the maintenance and longevity of it. That's just my opinion. I find that the vinyl fencing is probably the better way to go if you want to spend a little extra money and get rid of the headache of painting, staining, rot, termites, etc. I think it's overall, I think it's good stuff. May not be for everybody, but I really like it. So I hope you enjoyed this. Please subscribe. Hopefully it helped you out. I didn't intend to make a video with this, but I just decided why not? Hopefully it helps you. Till next time. Kind of ran out of things to say about vinyl fencing. It's not that exciting.